Cause you stay fly, so your red light is green, so let's keep it in dry. When the lips on your hips, then I'll take it to your thighs. I can see it in your eyes that you want it.
Hey, what is up, everybody? I am Legend, your favorite traveling musician, right here on YouTube. And today I'm back with another tutorial for you guys, you music makers out there. Today I'm going to be doing a video that was requested of me. Basically, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to mix and master your songs for free using a service that I use called LANDR. I'm going to be teaching you how to prepare your songs, to mix the songs within Garageband, because that's what I'm using today, and to input them into this website / automation program that masters your songs for you, and you can download it for free. And to preface this, I should say that I am no way, shape, or form a professional at mixing. I'm not an engineer. This is just the type of stuff that I do, me personally, as an artist. Before I release my songs, I've been told I have really good mixes, so I'm just going to impart my knowledge and what I do to you guys. So this is not necessarily the right way to do things, or you know, the set in stone way, or the official professional way to do things, but I'm just going to tell you how I personally do it. So I just want to put that out there, just in case anybody comes on this video talking about that's not how you do. I'm telling you, I'm not a pro at this. This is just what I do, what I taught myself. So today I'm going to be working with this song called Spend the Night, which is a song that I've been working on for my new project. For me, there are 4 main parts to mixing, to having a good mix before you master a track. So it starts all, for me, with the beat, because you need the music in order to make the song. So the beat has to be mixed. Let's go ahead and start with the beat. Since I'm using Machine 2, this is the beat, Spend the Night. And I'm just going to play a little bit for you right here. So it's like a nice little slow jam, mid-tempo jam, you know. So first, when you're going in to make a beat, you want to make sure that you have a good pair of headphones for mixing. I got these Audio-Technica MX50, I think they're called, which is like the industry standard for everybody. And so when you're making a beat, the lower frequency stuff, so like the kick, the bass, all of the things that have like the really bottom heavy like frequency and punchiness to it, what I do is I generally record them to where they're just loud enough to hear, but they don't overpower the rest of the song. So in this case, you'll see this bass right here that I have. And then you'll also have the kick of the drums right here. So I tried to make it to where all of the bottom heavy instruments of the track. Okay, number one, you don't want the track to clip ever. So this little knob over here in any program that you use, you don't want that to go on the red. Notice how this, it's already going into the red a little bit. But anyway, so this is an example. You don't want that to go in the red. You don't want it to clip, because then that's going to end up in pretty bad mastering once you get to that section. So make sure your track does not clip anywhere at all whatsoever. But the bottom heavy stuff, I usually try and turn that down, especially if it's really like a sub bass, like a really, I try and turn that down to where it's loud enough just to hear, but not loud enough to kind of like clip the headphones or cause any type of distortion. I'll try and give an example here if I can. Like, you hear how it sounds. You just go ahead and turn that down to where you can still hear it. And it's not clipping over here. Same goes for the kick and any other bass type instruments that you have in here. If you start to hear things like or like when your bass is playing, that is a sign you need to turn that stuff down. So go ahead and do that. For like the higher frequency instruments, so like for instance, I have this synth right here. I turn these down for a different reason, and that's more because the higher frequency instruments tend to have a more piercing sound. So like when you turn it up too much, it really like, it's like somebody stabbing your ears with a knife, or like some kind of like a pickaxe, or I don't know, something. It's just piercing. So you don't want those high frequency sounds, synths or hi-hats or whatever it may be, to have too much volume on it, because then it's going to really pierce through whoever's listening to it, which leads to an unenjoyable listening experience. So like if I had this turned all the way up, See, so even though it's not clipping and distorting the track, it's still piercing my ears. So that's not a good thing. So so get that to a good level. So it might sound like it's quiet, but once you put it with the rest of the track, as long as everything else is mixed well, you'll still be able to hear it. So you want to put the levels of each instrument to a level to where everything is, nothing is like sitting on top of something else. Like your piano's not sitting on top of the rest of the instruments in the track, or your drums are not sitting on top of the synths. It has to work cohesively, and everything has to sound like a unit. So it's really hard for me to explain the process that I go in mixing my tracks, because it just comes like second nature to me. And after years of producing, I kind of just have an ear for what to do. So once that is done, you basically export this and then bring it into whatever program you're going to record in. For me, it's GarageBand. If you guys want to learn how to record vocals and harmonies and leads and all that stuff, I actually have a video dedicated specifically to that in GarageBand, which you can watch here. I will put a link somewhere up here. It's gonna pop up, I don't know, and then also in the description. But for now, I'm just gonna show you how to mix this stuff once you've already recorded this. So basically the lead vocals. So the lead is the most prominent part of the song. This is what you will hear throughout pretty much the entire song, and what you want to hear the most. It should be the most prevalent part. So I do the lead first.
I wanna spend the night with you 'cause you stay fly. So your red light is green, so let's keep it in drive. Put my lips on your hips, then I'll take it to your thighs. I can see it in your eyes that you.
And then I have all of my soprano, alto, tenor. But I'm so bad with naming this stuff. It's just male basic, duplicate. So those are the harmonies. So I have 12 tracks, so 12 vocal tracks. I have to basically mix those 12 parts well enough for them to be able to cohesively exist in this one track, but not sound like they're overpowering each other, or the beat, or the lead vocal itself. Like the lead vocal has to still be standing out with these 12 other tracks playing. Now the panning that I talk about in the other video kind of helps with this, because it's not all just coming straight ahead at you like the lead vocal is. But the part that also helps this is the levels of the tracks. What I tend to do is, so first of all, on any part where the lead is being emphasized, like you have a melody to a chorus that has a soprano, alto, tenor, bass part to it as well, the melody always has to have a duplicate, like the stacked vocals recorded in addition to the lead itself, so that you're emphasizing the lead even more, so that once you add these other parts to it, it doesn't get drowned out. So for instance, if I take the melody stacks out and I just played the lead along with the other harmonies that I did with it, it'll sound like this.
I wanna spend the night with you 'cause you stay fly. So your red light is green, so let's keep it in drive. Put my lips on your hips, then I'll take it to your thighs. I can see it in your eyes that you want it.
Like you could still hear the lead, but it's not. It doesn't sound as full as it should sound, in my opinion, because everything else has stacked parts, 4 stacked vocals, but the lead is just one vocal coming at you straight. So you record the 4 vocals on the on the melody, and then it sounds more full.
'Cause you stay fly, so your red light is green, so let's keep it in drive. Put my lips on your hips, then I'll take it to your thighs. I can see it in your eyes that you want it.
So once you have all that set in place, you record all the other parts. Basically what I do when I'm recording these different parts is, for me, whichever range I am most powerful in, or I'm most comfortable singing in, I tend to turn that down the most, because if it's a range I'm comfortable in, I'm obviously going to sing it louder and more, because I'm more comfortable in singing it. I don't have to strain my voice in trying to go too high, or like when I'm trying to go too low, it sounds like I'm whispering or something like you know what I'm saying? So whatever range you're most prevalent in is what you want to turn down the most, because once you stack those vocals, it's going to be really overpowering. So that's why I have here the bottom part for me is turned down the most, the tenor.
Stay fly in drive.
Because I'm a guy, I have a mid to low voice, and so that's going to be my bread and butter. That's where I'm able to sing most comfortably and the loudest. And also because the lower parts, the bass parts and the lower frequency parts, they tend to have they do have a bass to them, because they are a lower frequency. So if you're recording like a lower frequency note, if you have it turned up too loud, then it's going to be like there's all this in the song, save love. Like there's like this underlying humming that comes to it. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Just imagine for a second if I didn't have this turned down, it would sound
Wanna spend the night with you 'cause you stay fly. See you red light
Yeah, like, you know.
so let's keep it in drive.
I mean, I'm not singing that low, but if I were, then that would be an issue and it would sound really off and just bad. On the flip side, the parts that I strain to hit, so like the higher notes, when I try to hit like soprano or alto notes, I turn those up the most because I want those parts to be heard. They have to be heard. They need a little bit of assistance, so I turn them up in the volume. So for instance, there's a stay fly, like my voice is it's softer when I sing that high. Stay fly and drive. Like you could already see I'm not straining, but it is a bit of a reach for me to hit those kind of notes because it's out of my comfortable range. So I turn those tracks up higher than any of the other tracks to kind of assist with matching the volume of whatever I do in these other tracks. Even though the lower part that is in my range is turned down and the higher part is turned up, they're still going to sound very well matched because I turned down the lower part, turned up the higher part that I personally strain with, and it kind of equals out.
Stay fly and drive your thighs. I can see it in your eyes that you want it.
Boom. To me, it sounds pretty good. These rules will differ for everybody because everybody has their own vocal ranges. Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. So for you may have to turn down your higher notes because if you sing like Mariah Carey and you can hit all them high and all that stuff, or Ariana Grande, then that's the stuff you would have to turn down. But for like your low range, you can't reach those low notes as well as I can. You would have to turn that up to be able to match up with the high notes that you can reach. So it's kind of like you have to find a happy medium. So your lower notes or whatever it may be, your weaknesses, you want to turn those up, and your strengths, you want to turn those down so that they're all in the same range. And basically the way that I determine that I know I've found a good mix, or that I have a good mix of all these vocals put together, however many there may be, when I can play all these notes together and not be able to specifically distinguish one note from another like immediately, then I know I have a good mix. Now for me, it's easier to do because I'm a musician. I have a very good ear, and I can distinguish notes in almost any chord. I can sing this part right here, Dave the Indra. I hear that the most. If I can't do that immediately, and I am able to like just hear the notes as a conglomerate, as a cohesive unit, instead of this is a soprano, this is the alto, this is the tenor, but they're all playing at the same time, that's how you know that you have a good mix. I'll give an example. So this would be an example of a bad mix. The melody's turned up way too loud.
Stay fly and drive your thighs. I can see it in your eyes that you want it.
So basically it's going stay fly and drive. I can see it in your eyes that you want it. It's too loud. It's too turned up. Too turned. Versus when you turn them down to overcompensate for your vocal abilities, then it sounds more like a unit.
Stay fly and drive your thighs. I can see it in your eyes that you want it.
So one part is not louder than the other, even though these are all set at different volumes. This is like 1.5. This is set at -4.2. This is set at -5.4. Even though they're all set at different volumes, they all sound like they're singing the same exact volume because of the fact that I'm compensating. So the lesson here is compensation and overcompensation. You want to compensate for your strengths and compensate for your weaknesses. So turn down your strengths, turn up your weaknesses. So basically you want to play around with this mix, play around with it, because it does take some time, especially if you don't have a trained ear. But when you do get it right, make sure you check that the audio is not going into the red, it's not clipping or anything like that. Let's see. Once you do that, you do the ad-libs. Ad-libs are usually the hardest for me because of this very reason, the very reason that I don't know exactly how to get certain things to stand out over another. Like, especially when I have a track that has a lot of harmonies, a lot of tracks, a lot of stacking, the instrumental is doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I generally don't know how to make the ad-libs fit in other than just turning it up and maybe ducking some other audio down at the time so that it kind of stands out a little bit more. But yeah, Ad-Libs, they're tough for me. So I basically just adjust the volume until it matches and then hope that the auto mastering does the trick for me. Yeah, so once you have this all mixed to your desire, you would then come to a website called LANDR. That's LANDR. Once you come to LANDR, you can either sign in with your Facebook account. I think you can sign up with an email. And basically, LANDR is an auto mastering service that was made by a whole bunch of like music professionals and engineers and all that stuff that wanted to create a way for artists to master their tracks without needing to pay thousands or hundreds of dollars or whatever it may be to find a person to master their tracks for them. But basically, you come to LANDR, you would create your little account. It's very straightforward. Just go to the website and do it. It's really not that hard. I don't have to explain that part. You come to master a track, go to this section over here that says master, click on tracks, and then you find the song that you want to master. I would basically select Spend the Night. Basically, once you hit that, the master, like once you import the track and it says it's now, generating the whatever, blah, 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 it's mastering the track for you. It's going to take you to the screen right here after it generates the previews and all that stuff. So you have the intensity level is low, medium, and high. So right now I'm going to play what the original version sounded like.
Take you for a ride. If the telephone rings, girl, we can let it slide. Hold on, let me tell you why. Wait a minute, yeah.
So notice how some of the stuff, even though I mixed it well enough, it still sounds like some of the stuff is a little bit too quiet. Some of the background parts a little bit too quiet. The bass is not hitting as hard. Like, this is to really get your song to sound radio ready. So you want to have those basses punching. You want to have everything at a good level to where you can hear everything. So here is the original version and the high version.
Your arms around me, I'ma take you for a ride. If the telephone rings, girl, we can let it slide. Hold on, let me tell you why. Wait a minute, yeah.
So you guys can clearly hear that there's a difference. So one version sounds quiet, the other version sounds way turned up, and it's the higher intensity version. So you hear more bass, you hear more treble, you hear more parts kind of standing out. I don't know how they brought that stuff together, but it's working. But in this case, the high was a little bit too strong for me and the low was not strong enough. I usually do the medium. The medium is usually my sweet spot for my kind of mixes and my type of songs. So I usually stick with medium. So medium, you'll literally see on the website of LANDR, this is what your track looks like before they make the changes to it. And then here is the medium intensity changes. So like it starts off really quiet. But once you change it to the medium intensity,
it doesn't have to go insane.
You see this difference in the volume right here is the changes that they made. So there's a clear difference. And then you just hit this download button right here. And here is what I'm talking about. So right now I have a plan that gives me free unlimited low res MP3s. This is what works for me right now. I don't need all that fancy schmancy stuff. But if this were your first time mastering a track, it will ask you basically, do you want to download an MP3, a high res MP3, a WAV file, or like some other crazy stuff that you can either pay for it like a one-off, or you can subscribe to the higher amounts, which lets you master unlimited wave tracks or whatever it may be. But basically, if you just want to use it for whatever you're doing right now, if you're a musician who's just getting started, if you're an artist who just needs to master their tracks, you don't care about being the highest quality track, you can download 2 free low res MP3s per month, which I think is dope. If you're just releasing 2 singles a month, then you basically have a free mastering service right here at the palm of your hands, which I think is life-saving for a lot of artists out here who really need this kind of change in their sound and this kind of resource, but they don't know where to look. They don't have the money to hire like an official engineer or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, this service, I really love LANDR. They have a few other different services that they provide, but I'm going to do a full video on them later on because I really like what they do. Again, this is not even a sponsored video. I just really like this company. I discovered them through a Facebook ad a while ago. But anyways, so yeah, this is how you can mix and master your songs for free using a service like LANDR and using Garageband. Like I said, I'm not a professional. These tips and tricks and all this stuff is not by any means like the official way to do anything. However, this is how I mix and master my tracks. This is what I do. This is what I use. But yeah, that's the end of this video, guys. I appreciate you watching. I hope I helped you out in some way. If you learned one thing, that's great. With that being said, I'm gonna get up out of here. I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna make some food. I'll talk to you later, guys. As always, be legendary, stay legendary. I love y'all. And this is painful to end these videos. I never know what to say.